And welcome to the Midday Show, Friday edition. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to talk about a Senate bill that's being passed through legislation. Well, it hasn't passed yet, but it's being pushed for. Democrats and Republicans are at odds. We're going to talk about not just the actual bill itself, but some of the questions that go around it. There's a good question about age. What actually is an 18-year-old? And who is this bill actually for?
What actually is an 18-year-old?
What is an 18-year-old?
It's someone who's not 19, but older than 17.
Yeah, but 18, the poll today that we put up was split exactly 50-50. Like, is an 18-year-old an adult or is an 18-year-old not an adult? I think it's a fascinating question.
It is. If adult is an 18-year-old an idiot is really the question.
You're proving my point.
That's not even a question.
Oh, so we might disagree.
We're assuming that adult means like worldly and intelligent.
Oh, that's not at all. Well, see, there's different definitions of adult. Legally, what's an adult, right? Like mentally, what's an adult?
Right.
Okay.
Responsibly, what's an adult? No, I'm with you.
It's going to be a good conversation already. And then they added words to the dictionary. There's a thing going on Twitter right now about how even millennials don't know what these words mean. Like, it's making millennials feel old because they don't know these words that are being added to the dictionary. So we're going to test our intelligence and see how many of these you and I actually know.
We will
that
soar.
Are being added.
When intelligence tests you and I through the roof.
Yeah. Before we get to all of that, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I'm tired. I am. Listen, this is what I have to look forward to. And there's those things in life that you just, you can kind of get around. And tonight is senior night.
Okay.
I'm in Toursville High School. My daughter is in the color guard. Okay. So this is my first senior night.
Yes.
Because my other daughter, do they even have senior night at track?
It's a good question. I would assume they do. I don't know.
Because a track meet just doesn't lend itself to, but whatever. But she was a senior during the COVID year. So her one varsity sport didn't take place. So this is my first senior night. My daughter's in the color guard and it is going to pour. And you've seen schools, South Williamsport and Northwest moved their game to last night. Okay. I saw another one on TV. There are a couple schools that saw this coming that moved to Thursday.
Okay.
Then I know at least Danville and Southern have moved to Saturday.
Right.
So people have tried to get away from it. We are like George Clooney in The Perfect Storm. We are forging right into the wave. And there's nothing you can't get out of it.
Your field's it's not that it's terribly unique. Your field just doesn't have a lot of places to really hide. Like, it doesn't matter where you're sitting, where you're standing. There's just not a lot of cover.
No. And I can't be like, I'm going to listen on the radio. I'm going to watch. You have to walk out. We have to be there at 6. It is going to rain from now until tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I keep checking. Maybe it's getting better. 100%, 100%. I guess all we can hope is it doesn't rain hard.
Interesting.
And then what do you do? I can't leave. I got a kid on the team.
No, you got to stay.
I got to stay.
You're watching the whole thing.
It is going to.
You're going to be like the kid in It in the yellow raincoat with his boat flowing down the sidewalk.
That's going to be me.
This was another interesting one. I should have double-checked this before I looked it up. Loyal Sock and Warrior Run tonight, they're doing a double senior night. That's what some of the kids told me last night. So it is Loyal Sox.
Both teams senior night?
Yes. And both bands are performing like it's senior night. So they're doing.
Because does Warrior Run not have a home field?
They don't have a field right now because it's being renovated.
It's being rebuilt or whatever.
So they're doing a double homecoming tonight. Or I'm sorry, not homecoming, double senior night tonight.
In the monsoon season.
It
is great for ducks and growing rice. And it is not great for football. Now, fortunately, both schools that we just talked about have turf.
Yes.
So the playing surface won't be a mud pit.
Sure.
But bad.
It's a tough one. Well, it goes back to what we had talked about with Halloween and just kind of do you move Halloween up just because of the weather? Do you just move it closer to the end of September?
It should be October? September 30th when I'm president. When I'm running. Because that might be number one on my ticket. We should make our presidential ticket. I said for 100 years that whatever the February President's Day should be celebrated the day after the Super Bowl every year.
So people have the day off.
Why not?
Well, yeah, those are two different arguments.
Because when I was a kid, you won't remember this. When I was a kid, Martin Luther King Day there was not a holiday.
Okay.
There was no holiday in January, and there were times, and I don't know how it worked federally, if it was just school-wise, but President's Day is a combination of Lincoln and Washington.
Yep.
They were both born in February, and we used to get them both.
Yep.
So it's not like we're celebrating President's Day on any specific day. It's just kind of like an honorary, it's the February holiday.
Yep.
So just put it after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I can't argue it. Next week is daylight savings time.
Okay.
I want to make my argument for the 13-month calendar again.
Right now or when daylight savings?
On daylight savings, like next Friday.
So you need to prep.
Next Friday.
You want to lay out your case.
I want to prep. I want to lay out my case. I want to present it to you next Friday because we're going to remind people on Friday that, the clocks shift on Saturday.
Have you ever messed up daylight savings time?
When I was younger, I just didn't care. Like, I can remember it being like Monday and people were being like, they had moved their clocks from Saturday to Sunday and it was Monday yet. And I still didn't even know we had gone through.
Did you ever inconvenience someone else because you weren't smart enough to fix your clock?
No, not anything like that. But I also lived in a world where most of the clocks fixed themselves by the time I was old. By the time I had responsibilities, the clocks kind of changed themselves.
When I lived in Baltimore,
yep,
and we had a radio show, and on Sunday mornings we did an NFL preview show. And the day the clocks rolled back, we got there, and me and the co-host both were there, and there was no producer, and the producer wasn't there, and we couldn't get in, and the door was locked, and we couldn't get in, and usually somebody was there, and we didn't actually we could run it ourselves if we needed to, but we didn't have a key.
Sure.
So I called a buddy of mine who also worked at the station, but the only reason he had a key is he used to have band practice in there sometimes because he was in a band, and so they practiced in the basement. So I called him on a Sunday morning at whatever time, woke him up, and he was like, he's the nicest person. So he drove over, and he gets there, and he's like, why do you guys get here so early? I'm like, early? We're on in 15 minutes. He goes, no, you're on in an hour and 15 minutes. It's daylight savings time. So then I felt really bad because I woke this guy up at whatever time on a Sunday morning, and just because I wasn't smart enough. So I have actually, it's funny when you mess up your own life.
Sure.
But when you mess up other people's lives, then you actually feel bad. And I did.
You inconvenienced somebody about it.
I did.
So I'll present we'll go over daylight savings time next week, and we'll remind people on Friday, and I'll present the 13-month calendar again.
I mean, are you going to have Exhibit A? We have a judge and jury?
I'm going to give you the top 10 reasons we need to do this.
It won't work, but I get it. I'm ready.
It's because you're old and curmudgeon-y.
No, it goes back to this. It goes, and I will shoot your whole. We're going to
talk about this next Friday.
It's the quarter system.
We're going to talk
about the
about
first
this
quarter, the
Friday.
second quarter. You throw off all accounting if you can't break the year into quarters.
You really don't. Your quarters are we're going to dive in this. It's just 3 months and a week instead. Your quarters are still there. They're still there. It doesn't change anything.
It makes it so much harder.
It really doesn't. This is the one negative to it. And again, we're going to talk about this next Friday.
Okay, I don't want to.
Birthdays. Because your birthday if you're born on a Wednesday, it will always be a Wednesday. That's the one negative to the 13th. That is the one thing that I've noticed is it's not so much that it's unfair, but the people who get there.
What about leap year?
What about it?
Where's that day go?
That is called 0 day. And it's at the end of one is 101, 102, the month and the day. Okay. So the leap year is 00. So every fourth year you have a leap day that on the calendar is zeros. That's how it's signified.
So if you're born on
but that happens now.
But now you have a day where you're born on February 29th. You would be born on 0 day?
Yes, it's called 0. And here's the best part. 0 day is a national day. It's a holiday. 0 day. It's
once every 4 years, it's a day that doesn't count.
Yes.
All right, that I could buy into.
Anyway.
Except, aren't you the biggest loser ever if you're born on 0 day?
No, what? No. We're talking about this next Friday. So we're going to talk you should be intrigued. I'm surprised you haven't bought in yet. We're going to talk about Senate Bill 565. This has been brought up in Harrisburg. It would allow the big one, because there's a lot of different things they're trying to repeal and there's a lot of things they're trying to amend. The biggest one is that it would allow anyone over 18 years old to carry a concealed weapon without a permit. This includes Philadelphia. That has not been included in other gun laws within the state of Pennsylvania. That is the big one. It lends itself and opens up the questions like we were talking about earlier, like what is an 18-year-old? What should an 18-year-old be allowed to do? And I think that's a completely separate conversation, separate of the actual bill itself or gun laws or restrictions and what we want to get into. So I will leave it up to you. Would you like to talk about would you like to talk about gun safety in the bill itself, or do you want to talk about first, like, what is an 18-year-old and then kind of mold it into the idea of using a gun as an 18-year-old?
Okay. What is totally unfair is right now you have dived?
Sure.
Which, is it dived? I think you have dived in to a deep intellectual conversation. Over here, all I'm thinking of is what would the name of the 13th month be? And
you don't, trust me, you don't get any say in it because you're against it.
Well, depending on what you name it. If you name it like Mark's month, now I might be on board.
Zero chance.
So, all right, what are my choices? What is an 18-year-old, and what was the other choice?
Or just talking about gun restrictions and gun law and kind of like this Senate bill and what it would.
Well,
what I guess in the state of Pennsylvania, I have always viewed the state of Pennsylvania as, like, some people say gun happy, and I don't agree with gun happy, but it is certainly a state that more than other states promotes guns.
Well, I think that's hard for me. I mean, I lived in Maryland for a while, but it's hard for me to say since I've lived here so much. I mean, my first thought when you just talk about the gun side of it is I understand the theory behind it, that it allows people to protect themselves. But by making it easier for more people to carry guns, it also would seem to create more gun violence. And if you pull up the gun violence numbers in the United States, they're enormous. So my question is,
in the state of Pennsylvania, we'll just say the statistic and get it out of the way before we start debating and going back and forth. In the state of Pennsylvania, more than 46,000 people have died from gun violence in the last 3 years. Now,
46,000. So
what your definition of
16,000 a year, 15 to 16,000 a year.
Yes. So now there's people will debate and argue like what gun violence is, what should actually qualify, what shouldn't. That's, again, I don't want to get into that with you, but 46,000 people gun violence last 3 years is the actual statistic that the state uses.
So my simple question is, does this law make the world safer or more dangerous? Which is theoretical, to throw out there for debate, because the lobby behind it is it will make people safer because they can carry guns to protect themselves.
So the two things at the top of the bill, one of the arguments for proposing it is that they are trying to allow people to defend themselves. And then the other argument towards it is there's a hypocrisy side to this, where hypocritical, thank you, where if you're 18 or 19, 20, if you're in that age where like you're not yet able, like you're an adult, but yet you can't self-defend. So those are the two big proponents at the top of it. It's very brief. The laws in existence regulating firearms ownership, possession, and use are ineffectual in preventing crime and only interfere with the natural rights of law-abiding citizens. So that's their case for self-defense. And then the second one is it is necessary to codify the inherent right to the carrying of firearms, whether openly or concealed, and that the right to self-defense is an inherent natural right that shall not be questioned as stated in Section 21 of Article of the Constitution of Pennsylvania. So that gets back in the ideas like, is everybody able to self-defend themselves? And that's why the push for 18 and the push for opening it up in Philadelphia. So those are the very basic constructs of the proposal. So your question was, does it make the world
safer or more dangerous?
And I guess that's not their question in this proposal. Like when I listen to your question, when I read those two things at the top of this proposal, to me, that's not the question being asked. And that doesn't make your question not a good one.
Right.
I'm just saying that I don't even know if in this proposal that is what they're looking for.
So then this would be my common sense, because here's the answer. Nobody knows if it would make it more dangerous or safer. People would speculate, and who knows. But once it's implemented, after time, we will have data. And if they do implement this law and 18-year-olds can carry, everyone over the age of 18 can carry without a permit. If it makes the world safer, then it did what they wanted it to do, and it's great. If the statistics show it makes the world more dangerous, would they then be willing to repeal it or adjust it because it didn't? Because they're certainly not putting this law into place to say everyone can defend themselves, but now we want the world to be more dangerous. That wouldn't be the thought process behind it. So if statistically it proves that that's what happens, will they change it? Will they retract it and repeal it? That would be my question.
It's my guess is no.
My guess is no.
My guess is no, that they would not repeal it. There is, for me, the biggest one is opening up in Philadelphia. I think when you look at gun violence and you look at the issues that they have had just historically, I think the question for me has to be, is there a difference between an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old? What is an 18-year-old? What does that represent?
Because we've gone over this. It's someone over 17 but under 19.
Yes. But so for example, how old's your daughter?
One of them is 17.
Okay.
She'll be 18 in 2 months. She's a senior. The other one is 20.
Yes.
I should know this. 20.
And do you think she represents the typical 18?
No.
So yes. So it's easy to say like, well, it's the person above 17 and the person under 19. I just don't know, like, when I think of what I knew as an 18-year-old versus what I knew when I was 21, what I knew when I was 25, when I was 30, versus even what an 18-year-old knows today, I think there's this idea that 18-year-olds are dumber today, whereas I find them much more, for the most part, I find them much more aware than I was when I was 18. Do you feel the same way?
No, I disagree with all that. When I was 18, I knew everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I mean, I probably starting at like 14, I knew everything until I got, I'm trying to remember what age it would have been about where I realized I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did. But it wasn't 18, buddy. At 18, I had all the answers.
What about like your daughter today?
I think what's one of the things, because when you were talking about that, when you brought up what is an 18-year-old, and I laughed because I thought it was a stupid question. But the more I thought about it, I wonder if historically, because as you talk about generation to generation, they're so much more technologically advanced.
Yes.
They've been so much more exposed to things because they've had the internet in their pocket.
Right.
And so, but I think as a society, we've also said because of parenting, we have coddled and protected. And so are 18-year-olds now more mature or less mature? And for years and years and years, each generation had a war, and lots of 18-year-old boys, men, whatever, went off to fight. So it would be interesting if there was like a psychologist that was 200 years old that had seen all these, that could say like, yes, they're smarter, but they're more mature, they're more self-reliant, but they're also more clueless. And because it must change from aspect to aspect of life.
It's funny, like the way you worded that, because to me, I would have used the word disconnected. So when I think like,
what did I use? Clueless?
You used like clueless, but disconnected, it's not far off. I guess what I mean by that is like, I feel like they're so much more aware of what's going on, but they're also at the same time, they're so much more disconnected. So what I mean by that is like, they know, like they've seen stuff and they know what it looks like, but the actual, like how many of them have actually done it? How many of them have actually, so there's this gap between knowledge and being able to like see it, whether it's provided by the internet or whatever it may be, versus the actual like,
so what you're talking about,
I've done the act or I've managed this.
It's like my boy Goodwill Hunting up there.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in the Sistine Chapel, but he's read an art book.
Correct.
Look at that. See
I
how we
think
did that?
that's how I would define like 18-year-olds today. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so when you talk about this Senate bill or gun use and gun laws and things like that, I think that's why you have to really ask what an 18-year-old, because I guess what I'm saying is if you're 21, what is the actual difference between a 21-year-old concealed carrying and an 18-year-old concealed carrying?
That the 21-year-old can be legally drunk while he's carrying.
While he's concealed, which I would argue is more
not
dangerous
good.
in a way.
No, it is not.
So listen, I'm not sitting here saying like we need to loosen up gun control and all, like that's not my argument, but there needs to be like a real conversation around some of this stuff about like we just pick these abstract numbers sometimes and we just think like a 21-year-old is a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old is an 18-year-old. And like I don't know how you toe a line in the sand of like, well, you know, if they're 21, they're so much more mature than an 18-year-old, and vice versa.
Well, I think too, one of the things that we briefly discussed before we went on was what. So this, say this passes, and this is a state law. Then who has like a school district will be able to come out and say no guns in the building?
Well, they can. So institutions and places will still be able to say what they've always said before. Can they now? Like in the amends, like, so I actually went through and I read the Senate bill. And from my understanding of it, there's nothing being actually changed about outside institutions and organizations and buildings, what they're actually to prohibit versus what they do now. The difference is outside of those in public areas and like you're able to now conceal carry without a permit. But once you walk into someone else's jurisdiction, you now have to follow. So if you walked onto a public school ground, you like cannot conceal carry your
But like, can the borough of whatever say, we get the state law, but we have our own law? And
it's a good question. That I don't know. In the bill, it doesn't actually state that.
Right. But we agree there would be private entities,
100%.
like schools and businesses would be you can't do it.
This bill doesn't allow you. It's not like you now get to conceal carry and you get to tell everybody else to essentially F off. Like you like.
I was going to say pound sand, which was a little more,
So you're still under state jurisdiction, and you still have to follow whatever the institution or the organization that you're underneath. Like you still have to do that when you walk onto their property or underneath their umbrella. But the difference, again, like an 18-year-old, because I looked this up because I was curious, what can you legally do when you're 18? In Pennsylvania, 18 is considered like basically it's the age of majority. So what that means is at 18, you're considered an adult. And so what comes along with that, most states, you get to vote. You can join the military, you can donate blood or become an organ donor, you can work full time, play the lottery, you can obtain special driving permits.
The lottery, but
probably not. You can use tobacco products. Obviously, the time at night in which you can drive changes. Consent to having sex with someone that is 18 or older as well. You can establish a checking or savings account. You can apply for loans individually. So when you go through, you can change your birth name. I guess when you go through and you hear those things that you can do at the age of 18, do you feel like being able to conceal carry a weapon falls along those lines? Some of them I read and I think no, but like joining the military, the fact that you're essentially liable, like you can be trialed as an adult. There's a lot of things that when you turn 18, whether you like it or not, it kind of works against you because you're considered to be an adult.
This is one I wonder, I'm sure we don't have any lawyers that are watching us, but when you're reading that through about sex as an 18-year-old, I know I've seen this in movies where like an 18-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old and it's a crime because two like high school seniors and one, that can't be the law, is it?
I don't know. I didn't read up on that today. I read up on Senate bill and gun control.
Because I've seen that. And that just wouldn't be like, you have two seniors in high school and they're dating, and then all of a sudden one of them turns 18 and now it's it wasn't a crime in December. Now it's a crime for January, February until the other one turns 18. That can't be.
I don't know. I'm reading.
So we should ask a lawyer.
Yes.
Because there has to be, because an 18-year-old can have sex with an 80-year-old and it's legal because they're adults, as you just said.
Yes.
But an 18-year-old couldn't have sex with a 17. I mean, they could be born 3 weeks apart. And then we have this 3-week buffer that, like, it was legal here, it's not legal now, and now that doesn't make any sense.
In my head, I always saw that it was 18-16, and then it drops down again.
That there's a gap.
That's what I.
There has to be some sort of. But I know I've seen movies where they work with that, but it's probably, I don't know. And I'm sure maybe from state to state it's different.
It's possible, yes.
All right. Anyway, back to as you were.
Nope, that's it. That's all I got.
It is an interesting bill. It is certainly the gun control, safety. What makes it better? What makes it worse? What's fair? What is infringing on people's rights? All that stuff is always an interesting topic.
I think for me, reading through it, having read the actual bill itself and going through the conversation, I actually think it's not I think the bigger question is about, like, do we actually know what an adult is?
I agree with that.
I think much more could probably be learned or solved. And obviously, like, don't get me wrong, gun control is an issue. It's something that should be discussed. I actually think that what this really questions and brings up is, like, what is an 18-year-old and what should you actually, what should an 18-year-old be able to do or not do?
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
You know what else? While we're on guns, I want to throw this out.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the best examples of a topic where when you get people away from the crowds because the right is so pro-gun and the left is so anti-gun as it would be portrayed to us throughout.
Sure.
I know lots of Republicans who understand that there need to be some level of gun restrictions.
Sure.
And I know lots of Democrats that their answer is not just no guns for anyone.
Sure.
That they just want some sort of control over, do we need, semi-automatic rifles, and should, that there should be permits and there should be background checks and things like that. Yeah. But I think guns is one of the ones that's portrayed that if you're a Democrat, you hate guns, and if you're a Republican, you love all guns. Sure. And it's much more middle of the road for most people.
I think a lot of the talk about gun rights, and this is a naive opinion, but from what I've noticed, a lot of it is just neither side wanting to give up ground, because the closer you get to the middle of it, the closer you are to losing the things you actually care about or the things that you actually believe.
But haven't you noticed, not that you've ever had an argument with a significant other, but it's when neither side will give any ground, you never get anything resolved. Sure. But when you come in and you're like, hey, you know what? You're probably right with that. I was wrong on that. And then once then the other side is like, but I was wrong too. And now once there's a softening of the hard, like, I am right and you are wrong, then you get there. But I agree with you. Neither side of the gun argument wants to give any ground.
No. And to be honest, I don't blame either side. I wouldn't, if I was in their shoes, I would not give up any ground either way anyway.
And I think it goes to lots of places, but unfortunately that's what's keeping the divide, because nobody's willing to meet in the middle.
Sure.
So anyway, be that as it may.
I think money has a lot to do with that too. We should throw that in there beforehand.
And just for people that watched all week, speaking of money, we are not billionaires yet.
No, still not.
We're on our way.
Yeah, aren't we all? All on our way?
We're all on our way.
Aren't we all? That's a great line from The Departed. He said he asked him how he's doing or something. He goes, on my way, I'm about to kick the bucket, or, on my way to heaven or hell. And Jack Nicholson taps on his shoulder and he goes, we all are, act accordingly, and just keeps walking past. That's one of the best lines in that. All right. The dictionary, for those of you, in case you didn't know, there technically is still a dictionary. When is the last time you've actually opened a dictionary?
A bound one with pages?
Yeah.
I don't even have a guess. Because I've told people this. You've seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Yep.
When the great line, when the guy's in Hawaii, he goes, I don't even wear a watch anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, that is so great and so free. And goes, well, no, there's a clock on my phone.
Right.
That's been, ever since I got a cell phone with a clock on it, I have not worn a watch.
Yeah, why would you?
So ever since I've had Google on my phone,
yeah,
Why would I ever look at it? So I'm off the top of my head, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
No, I hear you. So Merriam-Webster still adds words to the dictionary.
Oh, because Webster's counts. It's just online, but it counts.
It's just online. I guess they had a meeting. That would be fascinating to know how they do these things. Is there a vote? Is it a dictatorship where one person's just deciding?
I picture guys in the back was just heckling.
It would be really,
like, that's no word.
If you know how, comment, because we're curious. So they added 455 new words. I thought it would be fun to go through some of these. Some of these I have no idea what they are.
Give me one. This is gonna sound like a spelling bee.
TBH.
TBH is like the just initials?
Yep.
To be honest.
Yep, to be honest, is officially in the Webster's dictionary.
Wow.
Yes.
See how hip I am? You didn't know that one, did you?
I did know that.
Oh, whatever.
TBH, I knew.
Whatever.
So one of the things, before we start going over some of these words, there was an article done on NBC, and it basically had millennials saying that, like, this is the first time that they have felt old going through this list of words because they did not know the majority of them. So you had like early 30s to late 30s kind of being like, I have no idea what these words are, because a lot of them are like Gen Z, like Gen X.
So you've been left out. You are left out.
I'm not. I'm pretty much there.
Yeah,
most of these I know. All right. So here's a couple of examples. The first one, a lot of coronavirus words are now in the dictionary. For example, super spreader is officially a word in the Webster's dictionary.
Is it hyphenated or is that a compound word?
It is hyphenated.
Okay.
Super hyphen spreader.
Okay.
Also, breakthrough cases and breakthrough medical are also being added to the dictionary as well for what's happened over the last couple of months. And then COVID is making it in the dictionary as well. However, it's going to be under long COVID. So the word COVID itself isn't actually being added, but long COVID is.
What the hell is long COVID?
Long COVID is people who are going to show symptoms well after.
Yes. Okay.
That is.
I was thinking COVID. Of the disease itself, but it's the effects.
Well, it's not only is it the effects. For a lot of people, you show symptoms for 7 to 10 days, and then, like, it's over. There are people who get long COVID where their symptoms last significantly longer. So it just depends. So that's the first one, is like coronavirus words being kind of into the vernacular and added into the language of the dictionary. The next one is tech and science. There is 0 day. Have you ever heard of 0 day?
You told me about 0 day.
I did. But this is a different 0 day.
Okay.
This is where it came from.
I don't know that.
Yes, 0 day. So it's basically the discovered and exploited before it is known to or addressed by the make or vendor. That is the actual definition. What? Exactly. So it's relating to or being a vulnerability that is discovered and exploited before it is known or addressed by the maker or vendor. 0 day. So the easiest way to explain this would
give me an example.
So the easiest way to explain a 0 day is something that gets put out before it can be regulated or maintained, and thus you exploit it or take advantage of the fact. So that's why it's like a cryptocurrency term.
Okay.
0 day. Basically, it's the idea of like you're getting in before it gets started or regulated.
So it's like you can buy concert tickets before they go on sale to the regular public because you're in the fan club.
And you bought those tickets on 0 day.
Gotcha.
So that is added to that's an official word in the English language. There's copy pasta.
Copy pasta?
Copy pasta is being added. So it's data that has been copied and spread widely online. So like a lighthearted meme or something that goes viral. Copy pasta.
Did you know that one?
I didn't. I'd never heard of copy pasta.
I never heard of copy pasta.
And then the other one in this is there's a thing called oblek. This one's
please.
Oblek, OOBLECK.
OO.
Yes.
BLECK. Okay.
Yes. This one's interesting. It's a mixture of cornstarch and water that behaves like a liquid when at rest and like a solid when pressure is applied. Now here's the neat part about
cornstarch and water?
Yes. So a mixture of cornstarch and water that behaves like a liquid when at rest and like a solid when pressure is applied.
Okay.
Okay, here's the best part. Do you know where the word comes from?
Oh, black.
Yep.
It's got to be a movie.
It's a Dr. Seuss book.
Huh.
Yep. Dr. Seuss wrote Bartholomew and the Oblak.
Huh.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yep. So they use that. The reason they use the Dr. Seuss title is because kids' science experiments, they have been using water and cornstarch. So what happened was kids at home, not being able to go to school, parents looked up science experiments. They came with this idea, mix it together. Dr. Seuss book, Oblak, and that's how it became. So now that Dr. Seuss term came to life, essentially, and it is now in the English dictionary.
Double O.
It's pretty cool. Oblak. Words from politics. A whataboutism is officially a word. That is the act or practice of responding to an accusation of wrongdoing by claiming that an offense committed by another is similar or worse.
Oh, so you're just deflecting. The old red herring.
Deflecting. Yep, the old red herring, but it's called
he did it.
Whataboutism. One word.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Vote-a-rama is officially
Vote-a-rama?
Vote-a-rama. Vote-a-rama. Okay, so an unusual large number of debates and votes that happen in one day on a single piece of legislation.
Vote-a-rama. There we go. It's a lot like a barf-a-rama.
Yeah, a little bit.
But a vote-a-rama.
Yeah. Did you ever watch, what was the show that was kind of like The Simpsons? I'm going to blank on it now. Not Meteorama. I can't think of Futurama.
Futurama. No, I never watched it.
AstroTurf.
AstroTurf wasn't in the dictionary?
Well, here's the difference. AstroTurf, it's used to describe political efforts, campaigns, or organizations that appear to be funded and run by ordinary people.
How's it spelled?
AstroTurf.
Wait. AstroTurf is like a trademarked. AstroTurf is what baseball and football teams play on.
Yeah.
It's not a political.
It is now.
It's not.
Now it is.
Email them and tell them.
You want me to let them? I'll let them know. I
disagree with that.
I'll let the one guy, the dictator of Merriam-Webster, I'll let him know that you disapprove.
This would be a time in the committee. I picture you and I sitting in the back.
AstroTurf, yes. So words about food. Some of these are interesting. Fluffernutter was not.
It's never been in.
It's never been in the dictionary.
You like them?
Now.
I don't like them.
I don't hate them. My dad.
It's peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich, right?
Yep.
It's peanut butter and jelly, except peanut butter and marshmallow.
Yes, right. You threw the jelly in there, and I was.
Well, no, it's the same but different. I've never been and I love marshmallow. I love peanut butter. I'm not a fluffernutter guy.
Yes. So Fluffernutter officially made it. There's also Goetta.
Who?
Goetta. So it's meat such as pork mixed with oats, onions, and spices and fried in the form of a patty.
Oh my God, sounds delicious.
That was another food one that caught my eye. The other one too, air fryer. Air fryer was not in the dictionary until now.
What the hell's an air fryer?
You don't know what an air fryer is? Imagine frying your food, but instead of grease, it's all
hot air.
Yeah. Yep. You've never seen an air fryer. So it's like
cooking with a blow dryer.
Kind of. It's like it almost looks like a big crock pot, sort of, and you kind of put
so
it in.
Okay, no, because
it's supposed to be significantly healthier.
I can
because
imagine.
it doesn't have all the grease aspect to it.
So, but not like a Foreman grill, because that's hot.
You're like clamping
that's
down
not
on
air.
A Foreman grill.
That's hot from the
pressure. Yeah, the Foreman grill is more pressure, like you're actually placing the heat onto it.
So it's in an air fryer. It's on a.
I'm telling you, envision a crock pot. This is the best way I can explain it to you because I'm not a kitchen person. Picture a crock pot, and essentially, like, instead of filling it up with grease and having like the basket of fries, right? You essentially just put it into the crock pot, and then the air from the heat fries it.
Okay, so it's not floating.
No,
just sitting.
It can't be floating.
Well, I didn't know if it was on a rack or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, like your basket of fries, right? So picture putting your stuff on that type of wiring or that kind of.
I understand.
Yeah. Do you? Because I feel like you.
I do now.
And listen, I'm not doing a great job of describing it. So it is
the crock pot thing. Instead of getting blast, it's just I get it.
That one surprises me because out of all, like when I went through these.
Well, wait, isn't that what an oven does?
It probably doesn't get as hot. There might be a pressurizing aspect to it as
So it's
well.
more of the blowing of the hot air as opposed to, because in an oven it just gets hot, but there's no, like, the air's not rushing.
I would imagine that an oven probably doesn't get as hot, and I would imagine that there's also the aspect of just the pressure. I would imagine with an oven, there's not a ton of pressure actually.
We need a
being applied
physics
to it.
lesson with this one.
I'm not that fascinated by it. You seem very fascinated.
I don't get how it works. I mean, I get how it works, but
yeah. But this one surprised, like I was saying, this one surprised me because out of all the words, I would have guessed
I would have guessed that too.
So so that's officially in. And then we also have World of Medicine. Fourth trimester had never been.
What?
Fourth trimester.
Okay, you can't. Tri means 3.
Yep.
So you can. It's like a tricycle with 4 wheels. You can't have one. Now you have a quad.
The fourth. I knew this. This is why I knew this would be a great segment, because I just knew
you can't have a 4th trimester.
I knew these things would bother you. Fourth trimester is the 3-month period immediately following giving birth. So it's the 3 months afterwards where the mother typically recovers from the childbirth.
I mean, I get what they're saying.
Yes.
But it doesn't make sense.
I knew that would drive you nuts. I knew.
But I do get it. It is. I understand it from a medical, but it's and it works.
Yeah.
But I just, from a math guy, tri means 3.
Pop culture. There's one called a fox hawk. Fox -hawk, but fox is FAUX.
Oh, so it's like
faux. Guess what it is? A faux hawk.
And hawk is just like the bird, HAW.
Correct.
Okay.
A faux
Pop
hawk.
culture, a faux hawk. No, I don't even have a guess.
A hairstyle resembling a mohawk and having a central ridge of upright hair, but with the sides gathered or slicked upward or back instead of shaved.
Nice. So it's not a mohawk. It's a faux hawk. That is awesome.
Yep. And then these
I may get one.
These last two I specifically saved for you. Dad bod is officially
it's finally in.
It's officially in the
Is
dictionary.
that hyphenated or one word?
It is one. No, it's actually spaced. Dad bod.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And here's the best part: a physique regarded as typical of an average father, especially one that is slightly overweight and not extremely muscular. So that is dad bod. And then the last one, I knew you would appreciate this because you're a baseball guy. Small ball is officially.
Small ball finally went in.
Small ball
because it doesn't exist anymore. There is no small ball. They just try to hit it further.
Yeah. An offensive strategy that involves at-bats that advance one or more base runners in a scoring position. They also added it for basketball, a game strategy based on speed and agility of players as opposed to height and physicality. So the overall,
this is totally a Title IX version of sports. It makes sense in basketball because basketball is getting smaller and more athletic and more spread and more shooters. Mm-hmm. Because in the old days, you had to have a big guy or 2 big guys that stood by the basket and did well. Back then they did stuff. Now they don't do stuff anymore. So it makes sense in basketball because the game has evolved into small ball. No. Baseball has totally abandoned it. It is like in the museum, except in the playoffs when it helps people win. But it's funny that they bring in small ball now after it is just, I mean, nobody can bunt. Nobody hits the ball to the right side. Nobody adjusts.
So so those are the basis of like the 455 new words. This is the other part too. Like I look up words still, like when I want to know what the meaning is, but it's always online and it's always like the first thing that pops up on my Google, which I don't know if Google has a deal with Merriam-Webster.
Well, you go to Google and then it just pulls your choices and you look.
But I don't know if that's Merriam-Webster though. I wonder if it's just Google at the top just deciding.
Oh, I always end up checking to see, like, does it sound credible? Because, it's not always Webster. Sometimes it's, adverbs are us.
We should look up how they do this. If there's a committee there must be linguists and there must be people across the country, like, putting in recommendations or nominating words or, like, it's got to be almost like a Baseball Hall of Fame style.
Right.
There's something to it.
So talking about how people are old now you feel old because you're a millennial. And So this is, and I know I'm not the only person with this, especially if you have kids, and you do this to me all the time, and I think you do it on purpose just to make fun of me. You are sitting there, and right next to your computer is a Pepsi bottle with no lid on it, and it's causing me anxiety because I'm seeing it spill all over your computer. And as a parent, you're always just like, put the lid on it, the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And you do it. You always have an unlidded bottle.
Correct.
And I always ask you to put the lid on it just to be safer.
Because I'm not a child.
Well, I get that.
Okay.
But accidents happen. And if you spill that on your computer, it's ruined.
This is the best part about this. My desk is immaculate. Like, it's clean. I wipe it down daily. Hear me out. And it's organized. Okay. Right? And you're worried, like you're giving me crap because you're worried maybe, astronomical odds, I spill this all over the place.
Parents are with me on this.
No. Yet, your desk is a nightmare. It's a train wreck. There is garbage and
you piled all it on my desk.
I can't even keep track of everything that's on your desk, and I don't say a word. Like, I'm not like, boy, if Mark doesn't throw away that container soon, it's going to get moldy. Like, I just leave your desk. I just leave your desk alone, but I can't have an open drink on my immaculate desk.
But it's not. No. It's not that you can't have a drink on it. Mm-hmm. It's that you don't have. See, now you have the lid on it. Now everything's better. Isn't the world better now?
It's not.
Because what if you accidentally bumped it?
Because this is I'm not going to do this the 20 times I want to take a drink. Like, I'm not doing that.
I do. Yeah. Every time. Watch. I take the lid off.
Yeah, I leave it in my hand. By the way, tell everybody where you just had to pick that up from, because you don't have any room to put it on your desk.
It's on the floor.
Yes, he has to keep his iced tea.
That's not true.
You have to keep your iced tea on the floor.
My phone is on the desk. Stop. My keys are on the desk. My wallet is on the desk.
You have to keep your iced tea on the floor.
My drink, it's right on the floor.
You have to keep it on the floor because there's no room for it on the desk. So please keep telling me how I need to keep a lid on my drink.
If you were a parent, there are countless times that kids knock stuff over and the lid's on it. You're like, thank God the lid was on that. And it's not, listen, if there was nothing else on the desk.
But then they never, like, this is part of it too. Isn't part of, because this is deeper than just drinks and lids, isn't part of this stuff, like, you got to spill it once or twice and make them clean it up, because then you know what they do? They pay attention.
Correct.
But if you're just always putting a lid on it from now till then they don't care. Like, they're just going to knock stuff over, and they never realize, like, they have to be aware of what's around them.
If there's nothing on the table of value, I agree with you. Your laptop is 6 inches away.
Yes, but I've been, like, for 25 years, my mom and dad, like, if you got to clean it up, like, make sure you don't bump that, move it to the center of the desk. Like, you act like I keep it on, like, the ledge of the desk, and at any moment it's like,
listen,
so just
nobody tries to spill it. Nobody tries to spill it. It just causes anxiety.
This is the other part too. Did you ever have to clean it up?
Did I ever have to clean what up?
Like, if one of your daughters, like, spilt their drink, did you?
I'm not worried about cleaning it up.
Okay.
I'm worried about
what's your problem?
Sparks flying out of your computer, and your computer doesn't work now. You got to go drop several $100s on a new computer.
It's not even close to my computer.
Close enough that you could ruin it. Haven't you seen those movies where it goes? Zzz?
Yeah, movies.
I'm just saying. I'm not the only adult out there that has this anxiety.
Listen, I don't doubt that for a second. It doesn't mean that you're right. You guys can have your group.
My feelings are genuine. It's not right or wrong.
Gary just had the quote of Friday so far. I'm getting a feeling that Mark should put a lid on this conversation.
Nice.
That was pretty good.
That was good. That was funny. I disagree, but it was funny. It was punny.
Anything heading into the weekend before we go?
No, I'm just going to get soaked.
Yeah, you are. You're going to get drenched tonight.
Tomorrow, Michigan State at noon is a big deal. It's the big game of the Big Ten. We thought it was Penn State, Ohio State, which is tomorrow night. The one serious thing I would say going into the weekend is, if you're driving, just on Halloween night, which is Sunday. I'm sure it's Saturday in some places. I'm sure it's Sunday in some places. Just the night to not be a distracted driver is on Halloween. If you're driving through any neighborhoods, it is scary. I'm nervous as a driver because there's little kids who can't see that are in dark costumes, and the statistics of kids getting hit by cars on Halloween is, as you might imagine, is so much higher than any other day. So just as an adult, as a driver, be incredibly careful and look out for the kids who are excited and stupid and blinded.
Yeah.
And because it is dangerous.
Do you have a costume for the weekend?
I don't.
Nothing.
I never wear one unless I'm going somewhere to a party, and
I just didn't know if you had like.
I don't think.
Halloween
No, I don't as of now.
Okay.
But
what would you throw to get like late notice? What would you throw together? Do you have like a go-to?
No, I don't really.
Probably not.
I did see a meme that said the people that invented ghost costumes started out trying to fold a fitted sheet,
and that's how they ended up.
And that's how they ended up just being a ghost. And I thought that was funny.
That's pretty good. Okay.
No, I didn't. I don't have one. So it's a good thing I have nowhere to go.
Great. Good luck tonight. I hope you stay dry.
Well, we won't, but
good luck. Congrats to all the seniors. I hope they enjoy. For a lot of, this is one of the things we should mention. There are a lot of seniors this weekend, band members, color guard, football athletes, soccer athletes, different people that this will be their last go about it, especially if they don't make the playoffs. And we tend to, especially like if you're in media or you're a fan of it, you kind of tend to forget about the fact that teams are done because you're kind of focused on the playoffs,
the teams that win and move on,
teams that are moving on. So just kind of a shout out to all of the parents and all the kids that, put in the time and the effort, and hope you guys enjoy your last go around.
I realized this as I got to be an adult and going through and broadcasting. And because we broadcast so many high school football games, and the point that you made that never really, it always hit me that the players are done because we were players. And not only did we go through our senior year, but we watched other guys before us go through their senior year, and to the point where you're like, wow, I'm lucky I still got another year. But when you get to the band and you get to the cheerleaders, now it takes it to another level because you've got all these kids who've been playing at football games since 8th grade or who've been cheering since Pop Warner when they were little kids. But above and beyond, you get to the parents who've spent all this time watching their kids cheer, listening to their kids play, watching it, and all the preparation that goes into it as a parent. Do you have the right stuff to wear? Do you know where you're, we need to have, because especially from when you go from August, when the season starts, till now, just like what you wear, what you need, where you have hand warmers shoved in your shoes and things like that. And all the effort that parents put in, and then it just ends. And once you get into playoffs, you don't even know if today is going to be it or not.
Right.
And so there is this opportunity. It's the last time I ever get to see my kid do this. And there's obviously if you're a band kid, you have other concerts, and if you're a cheerleader, you have wrestling and basketball season. But to do it at a football game is kind of where the band and the cheerleaders originated, and so it goes so much further than just the players, but into the periphery and the parents, and it is a very bittersweet time for a lot of people.
Agreed. Well said. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
And enjoy the Cowboys Sunday night, even though we don't have a quarterback anymore.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and we will see you next week.
We'll win anyway. That's